Good day. I'm going to try to do one more real quick here while I got everything set up. It's still August 7th, 2018, and I'm going to talk about how fishes swim. Now, I'm not saying that a portion of fishes swim the way that you've been taught in school, but the more greater way they swim is something I learned on my own through observations and asking the questions. So this is to all you people out there that think that you have to go to university to learn all about aerodynamics and some of the greater questions. The reason I say aerodynamics because this all relates to how airplanes fly, how other things fly, how bugs and wasps and bees fly, and how UFOs sail. Not that they're all exactly the same, but it's all related. Now, for you people who want to ridicule me, I'll admit that I learned this from a whale. A whale I met out in the middle of the Atlantic when I was on a 43-foot sailboat sailing across the Atlantic with two other people. And also from observing porpoises and getting communication from them, and watching some videos of porpoises blow bubbles. Anyway, to get into the really meat of it, the people who will back me up are any really dog lovers, cat lovers, and anybody that's done any kayaking to great extent, not just a few trips. And I'm talking about river kayaking, not lake or ocean kayaking, but the real enthusiasts. And they will back me up as this being true. Because if they don't observe this and use it, they're not going to have fun kayaking. It all began one day when I was out sailing in my 16-foot catamaran, and it was a good stiff breeze. It was out in the Gulf of Mexico, and I was hooked in with my feet into the trampoline, and I was leaning way back, hanging onto one of the ropes, and my back was just barely skimming the surface of the water. It was fairly calm, but it was a good wave, and a good wind from one direction, and it wasn't shifting around, and I was tacking in one direction. And so my shoulders and my back were just inches above the water, and I was laying back like that and just enjoying it. It's a perfect balance there if any of you ever done it. The whole sailing thing is being closer to nature than going out in a speedboat, motorboat. Anyway, I was laying back there just really enjoying it, and all of a sudden I heard this noise. Here I am out in the middle of the water, the Gulf of Mexico, although I was close to the shore, or relatively speaking. I could have gotten back to the shore within a couple minutes with the wind behind me. Anyway, I was laying back there and I heard this noise. It was like like that, and just scared the heck out of me. Almost made me let go. And I turned, it was really, really close. And I just turned my head a little bit, and must have been about 5 feet away from me was this head of this dolphin, this porpoise, and he was looking right at me. And that split second when I looked right into his eyes, and just I communicated with him, and I basically was going, "What?" I was just surprised, and he kind of laughed or chuckled and said, "Ha ha, scared you," basically. And he was swimming with his head above the water, but this only happened, just a few moments. And then he went down, and he came up one more time, and then that's the last I saw of him. But it gave me a connection to the sea world, at least to the dolphins and whales, and well, there's only two that I really experienced: whales and dolphins. And it told me that, in many ways, dolphins and whales are more advanced than we are. They haven't degenerated, and that they have telepathy and great wisdom and great intellect. I recall watching one video of a dolphin in a like a sea world where you could look into the tank from below water level, but the people were just standing there, and this dolphin was blowing bubbles and going through the bubbles and doing all these tricks with the bubbles, and all the people were going, "Oh, isn't that cute?" He's entertaining himself. And after communicating with this porpoise out in the Gulf of Mexico, I was able to just get more just by watching this video on YouTube. It was of a dolphin blowing bubbles, and I went, wow, he's not keeping himself entertained. He's trying to show the people how smart he is, and he was just demonstrating the effects of water and the dolphin, and what the dolphin could do with this bubble. And anyway, I learned a lot with that, because I was working on a project about what I would call a first generation UFO, and how they were able to obtain flight back in the 30s, sometime in the 30s, maybe even early in the 30s. But that's another story if you all want to hear about that. But anyway, so I was later, a couple years later, I was out in the middle of the Atlantic, and this whale surfaced, and the skipper, gave the warning, and he was all jumping up and running around saying, watch that whale, it's danger, and it was, because a whale, good-sized whale, especially in a 43-foot yacht, can damage you, and they've been known to sink a 40-foot yacht. And sometimes they're not friendly. And anyway, the second mate, I think, was already below, and this went on for like 10 minutes or something, and then the whale hadn't appeared in 5 minutes. And so skipper told me to keep an eye out, and he went below. So I was all by myself up there on this catamaran, sailing along pretty good clip. And as soon as the skipper had gone below, up comes this whale again. And he was only he was closer this time. He was probably only 30 or 40 feet off just to the side. It was, let's see, we were on the starboard side. And this time she had a young one with her, a calf. And it wasn't really young, it was maybe a third of the size of her. And this is rare, if any of you have been doing any whale watching, that a whale will bring a calf to the surface right that close to a boat. And anyway, I had been thinking a couple days before about how fish swim, and I had been reflecting back to an earlier day years ago when I'd been in a creek in Texas that was maybe up to my ankles, no, up to my knees, and I was just sitting there cooling. It was a real hot day in the summer, and just enjoying it. And I was sitting on a rock, kind of in the water too, and this was a really rushing stream, and I mean the water was really going by hard and fast, and if it'd been any deeper, you probably wouldn't have been able to stand up. You know, if it'd been up, say, to your waist, it would have probably knocked you down. It was going that fast. Anyway, I was sitting there with just my waist not even quite in the water, and I started feeling this nipping around my ankles, and I looked down there, and there was all these, probably 30 or 40 little fishes that were they weren't even an inch long, and they were just cleaning my skin, kissing me and nipping at my skin, and I could feel like, a dozen of them on each leg or ankle. And it was really neat, and I just was watching, and I was going, I'd been to a couple years of college, 3 years of college, and done well in science, not good in English and writing, literature, but good in science. And I'd learned what they teach you, and I was just going, the fish have to be doing, those little fish have to be doing something more than what we're taught in school, because they were just so little, and they'd run out of energy swimming with just their fins. So this had always intrigued me, how they could do that, and I'd been thinking about this a couple days before, when I was off duty, and I was down in the bunk, down below the water in the catamaran, and so this was on my mind, and just I got immediate download from this whale, just in a few moments, on how whales and fishes swim. And the whale, all it does is just moves its backbone up and down like this, and just by doing that, and that's all, the wave of the water acts against the whale, because the whale is in position to the wave, and so it literally gets squirted by the wave action, how the back of the whale is bent, the tail. And this is what she told me. So she says it takes very little effort, and they just literally get squirted each wave. And then the fish do the same thing, but they're doing it from side to side, and they're using the different eddies and the different little currents in a stream or in the ocean or whatever. People think of the body of water as just sitting there, or the stream all moving in one motion down the river or down the creek. But what's actually happening is just all kinds of different eddies. The water's going just every which way. The whole mass may be going downriver, but within each segment of the mass, there's just thousands and thousands of eddies. And the fish knows how to move its body and its fin back and forth in these different eddies. Where's my hand? Back and forth in these different eddies. If there's an eddy this way, it'll go. Anyway, you get the general idea. And that's what a kayaker does in a stream. He'll get behind a rock or an eddy, and he'll catch the eddy going back the other way, and if he dodges back and forth, he can go upstream with a lot less effort than if he was just in a canal, when with water moving just en masse. And that's no, now what happened? Shucks. Lost everything. I don't know if I'm recording or not. Little discrepancy there. Where was I? So the kayaker goes from spot to spot, and I've watched a couple ducks going upstream in a creek or a river, actually quite a fast-moving river, and there's only a couple spots where the duck will have to really cross an intense amount of water, and they'll jump. They'll go through that real quick, and they'll find an eddy, and then they'll go up that, and they'll just go. It's just, if you ever have a chance, just quietly watch ducks going up a river. And it's really neat, and you'll realize what I'm saying. They're using the eddies to move them up the stream more than their paddling little feet, or the fins on the fish, the tail fin. The fish is using its whole body, just like I was telling you about the whale. So anyway, that's it in a nutshell, how a fish swims. And if you like this, you can let me know, and I can tell you more about how bees fly, and how, not that they don't partly fly by the way we're taught, but the beetles, especially, the beetles are so much heavier than a bee. There's ways that they fly, just like there's ways that UFOs sail. Thank you now, and good day.